President Biden has received some pretty decent approval ratings during his presidency so far. It's hovering somewhere between 50-55% approval rating. And somehow he seems to have stumped the GOP on their opposition messaging. He's turned them into just culture warriors instead of actually focusing on any of his policies.
Pretty interesting. As the AP knows, even Fox covered the cancellation of Dr. Seuss and Mr. Potato Head more than they did Biden's COVID relief bill. What does all of this mean? Editor-in-chief of The Real News and host of the Working People podcast, Max Alvarez, and senior congressional correspondent at the Daily Caller, Henry Rogers. They join us now to break it down. Henry, you crawl around Capitol Hill every day. Kevin McCarthy famously sat down to read the Dr. Seuss thing. But it is important to say that there has been no real substantive criticism of the Biden COVID relief bill. They are having a really hard time defining Biden. So what are some of the failed things that they've come up with so far, and how are they thinking about that going in the future?
Well, listen, I think this attack on cancel culture is actually fair for Republicans, to be completely fair with you. I mean, listen, everyone was going in here beforehand saying that President Biden was going to be essentially a puppet of the left, taking orders from everybody else. So far, he kind of has been doing that. I will remind you, Michelle Obama was reading, Dr. Seuss, and that wasn't racist then. Biden is president now. And
yeah, but
Henry
hasn't commented.
He didn't even have anything to do with the Dr.
The White House punted on it, didn't they?
No, yes, they have. But I'm saying this is going to my bigger point on cancel culture. If Michelle Obama can get away with that back in the day, and it's okay to read Dr. Seuss, then why? Nowadays it's like it's completely crazy. This is a bigger message.
Henry, no one is debating that the Dr. Seuss thing isn't ridiculous. What I'm saying is that do you think that that's going to gin up voters in the same way that they were able to Obama in 2010? And vis-a-vis, well, actually, this is a perfect example. You're talking about Dr. Seuss. I could tell you're animated about it. But is that actually going to get somebody to come out and vote?
No, it's not. Yeah. It's not. But it's getting to the bigger message. Is what I'm trying to get at here. If we're talking about Dr. Seuss, now we're not anymore because we're off that topic. But it's it's the message of cancel culture. Cancel culture is real in this factor. And if for somebody like Joe Biden to go around here and to act like this is not happening in today's world where people are constantly being canceled for things, not like Dr. Seuss, but for a bunch of other crap, it's insane. My high school is being renamed.
Henry, I don't even. Once again, dude, I don't even disagree with you. But I'm saying Biden has not commented on this.
Max, let me get you in here. What do you make of the situation?
I mean, if Biden's a puppet of the left, someone should tell us so we can get on. Right?
Yeah,
I gotta rally the troops. I think that the question about whether or not this will people to the polls is, I mean, we know it does, right? I mean, it brings people to the polls. The question is, will it bring enough people to the polls when it counts, right? Because, I've said, we've talked on this show a number of times, right, about kind of my thesis that Republicans really kind of double down on the culture war stuff because, they in a lot of ways, it offers, voting people, regular people, working people, a sense of power over the world that they live in, right? Because if you are pissed off about the Dr. Seuss thing, you can go and buy Dr. Seuss books. You feel like you're making a difference. You feel like you're part of a cause, right? That is a form of empowerment. It is not kind of the form of empowerment that working people need, which we've talked about many times on this show, in which largely and traditionally the Republican Party has not offered working people, but also they are doubling down on the culture war stuff because it works, right? Because it is tried and tested. This is the inherent advantage that conservatism has politically, especially when, the meat of your voting base is an aging population that feels increasingly like the world they live in is less recognizable to them than the world that they grew up in. The mere passage of time is always going to be playing in your favor, right? So it works to always kind of basically keep people feeling like they are at least on the right side. And when they need an opportunity to kind of seize on that and target it at Biden, they will.
Henry, let me get you in here, man. Because here's really what I'm asking, which is that why have they had such trouble defining Biden? As in, with Obama, it was clear. It was like, we're going after this guy, we're going to defeat him, and within a couple of months, The Tea Party was on its way to being activated by 2010. It was a brutal blowout. Hillary, they've been defining Hillary for 20 years, right? By the time she ran, the entire machine knew exactly what they were going to say. She's corrupt. She uses her husband's influence, buying money off. She thinks she's above everybody else. Nothing yet seems to have stuck to Biden. Why do you think that is?
It's a great question. I think Obama, like the AP pointed out in that report, had to do with a lot with racism. Conservatives were hitting that point hard, and I think Hillary Clinton had a lot to do with her husband, and her being a failed Secretary of State. I just think that back to my earlier point, I was trying to get at a broader point of cancel culture as a whole. Sure. I just truly believe there's a problem with that, and we should move on from that whole Dr. Seuss crap. Moving forward here. Joe Biden's policies should be on stake for the Republican Party. Like, for example, the things that are involved with his COVID relief bill that have nothing to do with COVID. Those are what Republicans should be focused on right now. Things like that. The things that Republicans are focusing on right now are extremely unimportant, unserious, I would say, and I think that should be transformed.
Yeah, I think
Max,
that's right.
What do you make of this? Is actually what I talked about in my radar yesterday, which is I was kind of wrong about how this would all go. I thought that the second that Biden was in office, they'd roll out the same 2009 playbook, even though Max, look, obviously Trump spent a lot of money and they didn't care then, but they have no shamelessness. Like, they don't care about being hypocrites. So I thought they'd gin up the same thing, deficits, the debt, et cetera, et cetera. And to be fair, some of them tried, and they still vote in the same terrible way. But it just seems like deficit hawk politics are not nearly as animating as they used to be. Not within the Democratic Party and not within the Republican Party. What do you make of that?
I've been noodling on this myself because I'm still kind of convinced that it's coming, right? Or that it will kind of be absorbed into other things. I think that there must have been enough kind of internal pressure within the party from people saying, look, man, we made it barely across the finish line with Biden in Georgia, and immediately we spurned the people who got us here by dawdling on kind of the COVID relief thing, by means testing the crap out of it. And we could all see what was coming. It's like, you're going to get creamed in the midterms if you don't do something quick. And so my sense is that they probably wanted to go with the more deficit hawkery, and the means tested version of the COVID relief bill is in part the result of that. But I think that they hopefully realize that they were on a suicide mission when it comes to kind of the effects that this would have in the midterms. But I guess the other thing I would say, this is, everyone knows where I'm coming from, right? We've talked about this many times. Everyone knows I'm not a fan of Obama, Hillary, or Joe Biden, right? So I think I can say, as Henry mentioned, right, you don't have to stretch the imagination too far to think why Joe Biden out of that group is the hardest one to pillory for the right. But also I think a lot of folks on the progressive and left side would say Republicans are having a hard time tarnishing Biden because he's already giving them what they want, right? Because the COVID relief bill, like I said, was kind of a means-tested Frankenstein's monster of what it should have been. Biden already opened up a detention camp on the border. He bombed Syria. So, again, I think that they're just waiting for the right moment when they can really stick him to something. And right now, he hasn't given it to them because he's giving them what they actually want.
Well, an interesting perspective.
Very
Okay, guys,
interesting.
stick with us. More Team Rising right after this.